Now speaking with Camilla Cleese. You always mention starting writing with your father. You're like, oh, I kind of fell into writing with my dad.
Well, maybe forced my way into it is a better one. Now, I guess a lot of people don't realize about him. He's written most of his own stuff over the years, not to mention quite a few other movies that perhaps people don't realize he did. And
like what?
Gosh, like The Croods, which recently came out. It was an animated film, but he actually wrote the first draft of that and created it with his writing partner, and that was one of the first films that, because I was a teenager, so it took a while for that to actually materialize, but I sat in with him and his writing partner, and especially I think because it was a kid's movie and I was sort of closer to a child's age at that time, I always found it fascinating to listen to them work, and it was fun, you know, you're kind of joking around and coming up with stuff, but I got to learn a lot from being around him. And then another one was an adaptation of a Roald Dahl book called The Twits, which is another children's book. He wrote a great first draft on, and I sat in through that. And then I think when I was a sophomore in college, he got asked if he wanted to do a one-man show in New Zealand and do a tour down there. I think he asked if I wanted to kind of help him write it. I worked pretty closely with him on it, and I wrote my way into it because that sounded like more fun than going to college to me. So I wound up being in the show with him. There were a couple of sketches we did, and so I'd play parts in those, and then I played Lara Croft Tomb Raider basically at the beginning. At that point, I'd sort of caught the bug to do it.
So then when did your writing turn into stand-up for yourself?
Yeah, well, I do a sketch show in LA. I haven't been recently because I just don't have time with the stand-up, unfortunately, but the Straight Jacket Society, and then within that there was a group of 7 girls who we did this show, Hysterical, that went pretty well. And then one of the girls from the sketch show, Sarah Tiana, she's a very good stand-up, and that was kind of the first time. Like, I'd always wanted to try it, but like I'd always been sort of scared because it is a little scary. Absolutely. And seeing her do it was probably the first time I'd seen a girl do stand-up who was like someone I really could relate to. I thought she was hilarious. A lot of people that do stand-up are either very quirky or character-y. And Sarah was like someone I felt I just related to on another level, and she kind of inspired me to get my feet wet. And then I tried it, and then it became like a disease.
A lot of comedians have like a certain kind of style, whether it's observational or bit-based. How would you define your personal approach to stand-up?
Some of it's just personal. I do talk about my height a fair amount and my crazy family and being English, and some of it's observational. I do have a very dark sense of humor, but that's me, you know. And at first I used to try and kind of be likable to everyone, but I would rather be loved by half the audience than sort of liked by everyone. And people are oversensitive. It's not like I'm up there talking about pedophilia or like horrible things, but
so a lot of times when people come from families that are in the industry, you hear parents not recommend they go into the industry. Did you run into any of that?
Yeah, somewhat, but I've never really listened to my parents. No, I mean, I do. I think my dad secretly always wanted to kind of be an academic. Like, he's so smart and so well-informed and well-read, and I feel like he knows a lot about everything. Just don't tell him I said that. You know, I think he always kind of secretly wanted to be an academic, and that was, I think, his bigger concern about keeping me away from the industry. Like, my mom didn't want me to model when I was younger, but then agreed to let me when I was like 17 or so. But I think I always kind of understood, and especially once I did start doing it, because it's a tough world. I enjoyed doing it, but like that wasn't a career that I thought was going to be my life. But I'm glad in a sense, and I didn't get into the entertainment industry till later, so I think at that point they weren't as concerned. But I can understand why any parent would not want their kids going into it, because it is very difficult, especially when the kids go into it before they're an adult, before they're 18, 20. You don't have a good sense of yourself. It can be very treacherous.
In a lot of the interviews that you do, everyone talks to you about your dad. So do you think all of these things work against you when you're trying to make a name for yourself?
You know, obviously there's upsides and downsides. Like, I love my dad, and I'm so grateful I got to learn everything I did from him. Unfortunately, you're always going to have people that want to see you fail because of something like that. They just think, oh, she's only getting to do this because she's John Cleese's daughter, or like she has everything handed to her because she's John Cleese's daughter. A lot of people make those kinds of assumptions, I think, and they also maybe assume that I'm going to be stuck up or, you know, full of myself. And I don't think I am at all like that. Stand-up comedy has been a great opportunity to prove myself, and especially prove myself as a separate entity from my father, and establish some personal credibility, because there's no shortcut. If you want to be good at it, you have to work really hard. You have to have talent. You have to be a good writer and performer. You'll never hear about someone doing stand-up 3 times and then being discovered and headlining, because it would be impossible. Like the Malcolm Gladwell Outliers 10,000 hours thing. It takes a long time to become a really good comic.
You're not going to hide behind either. You're up there, and either people are laughing or they're not.
Right. And being comfortable up there and handling different audiences, like that's part of what's so fascinating about it to me, is every night is different. You know, every room is different, every audience. Learning to deal with all of the possible variables that affect how the performance goes and how the audience reacts to you. It's always a challenge, and it's always new, which I love about it.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to let people know?
Oh, I should probably... I just booked a week of shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which I'm excited about.
Wow.
It'll be my first time performing on that side of the pond.
When's that going to be?
That's August 6th to 13th.
And so how long is your set when you do something like that?
It varies. I'm not a headliner. Some nights I'll do a guest spot that could be anywhere from 5 to 12 minutes, and then feature sets are usually 15 to 25.
That seems like a lot of time to fill by yourself.
I probably have like 45 minutes of material that I can rotate through, but like you're always coming up with new stuff. And you know, now when I do 6-minute set, it goes by so fast. Sure. You know, but the first time I did it, it felt like the longest 6 minutes of my life.